So recently there's been a lot of pain in regards to Tesla stock, and in this video I want to go ahead and touch on how painful can it actually get in regards to the price action for Tesla stock and how dangerous is it. Now, spoiler alert, I'm actually not in the camp that Tesla stock is just going to go ahead and fall down to the abyss of the market and it's just going to crash and capitulate. I actually don't have that belief, but I'm also not in the camp that Tesla stock is going to get into new all-time highs pretty soon, even with the catalyst event of robo-taxis for this month. So, you're like, okay, well, where are you at? Well, I kind of want to go ahead and talk about a bigger picture for Tesla. For those of you guys that are not familiar with the channel, I don't like to just look at a stock just based off the charts and the technicals. I like to look at the stock market from a more dynamic approach and look at all the different pieces of the puzzle because it tells you a larger story. And so what I want to start off with is kind of the employment information that we got, right? Last Friday, we had the non-farm payroll employment information come out, and we saw that jobs increased by 139,000 in May, which is slightly above the expectations. However, it was lower than the previous monthly gains over the past 12 months of 149,000. So essentially, we had a labor report that wasn't too bad, and it shows that the labor market is resilient. And the reason why this is important, you're like, why does this matter for Tesla, right? I've often always preached how the labor market is the lifeline for the stock market, because of course, if people are losing their jobs, they won't have paychecks, right? If you lose your job and you don't have paychecks and you can't pay your mortgage or your rent, you're not going to go ahead and consume products. You're not going to go ahead and buy products that these companies offer. For example, Tesla, they sell their cars, right? That's one aspect, right? They also sell the software subscription for FSD, right? And then they do a couple of other things in regards to energy. Now, if someone were to lose their job, okay, maybe they'll keep their Tesla car if they already own it. But if they had the subscription for FSD, they're probably going to cut costs, right? Because you're like, hey, I need to put food on the table. So that's really what I'm trying to get to, that the labor market is still pretty resilient. Now, the report that we saw that healthcare added 62,000 jobs in May, which is pretty high. It's higher than the average of 44,000. Now, I kind of want to say that this information isn't too crazy. It's not of much substance because healthcare will even increase in times when the economy is falling down. And the reason is because it's an essential part of the economy. We need people working in healthcare. But what is interesting is that we see that employment and leisure and hospitality continue to trend up in May, up 48,000, largely in food services and drinking places, right? It says over the past previous 12 months, leisure and hospitality had an average of 20,000 jobs per month. So this is pretty significant, right? We're seeing that the leisure and hospitality industry, right, these jobs are holding up. In fact, they're increasing. And that, again, shows that there's a lot of resiliency. People are spending, they are consuming, and that's what makes the world go round, right? I'm sure you guys heard the horrible saying that money makes the world go round, and unfortunately, it's the truth, right? People need to spend so that people hold jobs, and people have jobs to go ahead and get money and spend, and it's just this cycle. It's just this cycle that goes around. And so the labor markets are not toast, right? Unemployment is not increasing at a crazy rate. And so things are kind of showing a bit of stability. But that's just the labor markets. Let's talk about things from a fundamental perspective, right? So this is from FactSet, and they mentioned that for Q1 2025, with more than 99% of the S&P 500 companies already reporting, right? 78% of them have reported a positive earnings per share surprise, and 64% of the S&P 500 has reported a positive revenue surprise. So pretty strong from a historical perspective fundamentally. So the fundamentals are there again, and that coincides with the idea that it's a dangerous market where there's a lot of fear in the economy due to a lot of uncertainty, a lot of risks, especially with the deficits going on, these tariffs. But at the same note, earnings have looked pretty strong. Now, that doesn't mean that next quarter, third quarter, maybe too, it can't, completely shift. Absolutely not, right? There's still uncertainty, but currently things are looking pretty good in terms of the picture. Now, looking back at Tesla from a technical perspective, one thing that we have here is that Tesla, it fell down pretty strongly recently, and it held up above this area that I mapped out as a previous resistance. And through the principles of polarity, this resistance is naturally going to act as an area of support. Now, of course, stocks don't have to adhere to any squiggly line you draw on the chart, right? It's just a psychological area that we're watching and we're monitoring. Now, at the same token, when it did bounce, we didn't see the candle close above the 50-day moving average, which suggests that, look, I mean, it bounced, but it doesn't mean that, it's going to continue bouncing, right? So just kind of want to point that out there. Now, we have a long way to go before we even get close to new all-time highs. In fact, if we go ahead and we do, let's see if I could find price range here, and we map it out where we currently are, roughly around here to the top that we were at. Wow, big dramatic change, right? Even just from where we were not too long ago, it's 24%. That's insane, right? Tesla is not for the weak. If you're someone that still holds Tesla, right? Full disclosure, I'm no longer in my Tesla position. I sold out of Tesla a while ago. I made several videos like warning about Tesla falling down after it had this massive skyrocket movement upwards based off nothing, right? Just based off the idea of the relationship with Trump and Elon, which, by the way, that is also diminishing, right? And it's not as bad. We saw Elon Musk delete the Epstein tweet about Musk, so the relationship maybe can rekindle. But again, we have two people with large egos who are not willing to work together, right? We know that based off some of the posts that Elon has made, he's looking to go ahead and try to rekindle the relationship. But it takes two to go ahead and do that. And unfortunately, it looks like on Trump's end, he's not looking to go ahead and, make things right with Elon. And it looks like the benefits that Elon might have had with the idea of deregulation with, Tesla because of the relationship, that's completely gone, right? I mean, the stock already fell before the relationship ended, but now that the relationship ended, yeah, you could kiss that goodbye. Fingers crossed that perhaps maybe that, Trump will say, look, we won't, investigate Tesla super hard, and we won't try to stifle Tesla and take away all of the subsidies, right? Elon Musk, that'd be horrible for Tesla. And I know Elon Musk was very critical about this bill, and we saw Trump on True Social make posts saying, look, shoot, if we have to take, and this is me paraphrasing, if we have to, we'll take everything away from Elon, especially if he supports the Democratic Party, right? So pretty interesting. Because, of course, Trump benefited from Elon supporting him, but he's like, hey, if you do the same thing you did for me to the other side, the opposition, the Democrats, well, then, look, we will do everything in our power to make sure that we take away all the subsidies. And that's going to be very dangerous for Tesla. So that's kind of something that we're going to want to continue to monitor, the rocky relationship. I think that eventually they will go ahead and actually, I don't think they're going to be how they were before. But you never know, right? But I do believe that I don't think Trump wants to make enemies with Elon, and I think that the relationship can get back to at least not as as a peak as it did before, but definitely at a point where they can both still have that relationship and support each other, right? And who knows? Maybe down the line they could just say, look, that's in the past, right? Because we know that, by the way, and I hate to kind of prolong this conversation. We'll talk about the price action for Tesla. I know that's what you guys really value, but I just want to point out that this isn't the first rift between the two. We had Elon Musk and Trump kind of diss each other in the past. I mean, Elon Musk was called some words by Trump like a welfare queen in the past, saying, look, he thinks he's this rocket man, but he takes all these subsidies. And then we saw that they became buddy-buddy when Elon Musk supported him. And now they're back on a rocky kind of situation. So the reason I point the dichotomy between what it was before and then what it changed to and what it is now is simply because it doesn't mean it can't change. They had bad blood before and they were able to have a strong relationship, and now again they have a bit of bad blood. So who knows? Again, no one has a crystal ball. Just something that we want to point out in regards to Tesla. Now, I have here on a note that we don't want to forget. July 9th is the expiration of the 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariff rates. And then August 12th is the end of the China 90-day pause, right? And so that's kind of still looming. It's coming closer as we continue to move forward. Again, we are in June. This is in July. So we have some time. It's just, unfortunately, we haven't seen much progress in regards to these trade negotiations. I'm hoping that maybe we can see more progress on that. But again, we could only be hopeful, right? So going to Tesla, right here we have the market profile, and what we see on the market profile is that there's this large distribution of like where price was at, right? Price stayed at these areas the longest, right? So that's why this histogram depicts that. And what that suggests is that that's where the fair value is at. That's where Tesla likely is a psychological area to hold up. So even if it breaks down the support that I mapped out here, around over here is kind of this fair value area where we could see Tesla consolidate. Now, what's really gonna hold Tesla up is as long as there's no other bad news, no other negative catalyst. And so we know that the positive, or fingers crossed, positive catalyst is going to be the robo taxis coming out and fully launching, right? In some specific areas. But if things go negative, then we could even fall below this value, our fair value area, which is below $246, and that would be dangerous. And again, I don't think that's gonna be the case. And fingers crossed that that's not the case. By the way, I'm just getting a text notification, so let me mute the phone here. Sorry about that. Now, real quick, I do want to just quickly encourage you guys, if you haven't done so already, make sure to hit the like button. I often do it and ask for you guys to do this far too late, and we know that most people don't end up watching the video to the end. And so for those of you guys that are still watching the video, if you could please do me a big favor and hit the like button. It really does help out the channel. It helps push it out. And of course, if you guys could comment down below, I'll try to get to as many comments as I possibly can. Make sure to subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. And before you guys go, check out this video right over here. I'll see you guys on that next video. Take care, guys.